I think Julia touched on some of the key expectations and what investors are going to be watching for. Any update on ESPN Plus? Obviously, we know the theme parks and the film studio are going to be the highlights for the quarter. But I think even looking beyond that, I think the elephant in the room is going to be, what does Disney and Fox do regarding the Sky offer, which Comcast right now seems to be in the driver's seat.
What do you think they do?
We think. There's any range of potential outcomes there. They could decide to, I think they have until Thursday, according to the rules of the UK takeover panel, to submit a higher offer. Or they could decide to wait by submitting a preliminary paperwork that buys them additional time down the road to consider their options. What we don't think they'll do is to walk away at this point. We think the Sky assets are way too valuable, once in a lifetime opportunity. So we think the bidding for that could go higher, and that could arguably overshadow all of the questions around the fundamentals.
Does Sky really fit in their portfolio, into the Disney-Fox portfolio, which I think of as more a production and content portfolio now than having anything to do with distribution?
I would argue that what you just stated is the conventional wisdom, but when you dig deeper into the assets of Sky and what they bring to the table, I think Sky in its own right is as much a viable and formidable content provider beyond the core satellite television platform. They're investing heavily on content. As you heard, Katzenberg and Whitman, there's a paradigm shift now to kind of repurpose and reproduce that content and offer them to consumers. Sky has been a major player in that regard. We know that they have also signed on to the Premier League rights for the next several years. I might add at terms that were phenomenal based on an economic standpoint. So this is a platform that's still growing that I think Bob Iger has made a case would be a strategic asset for them, which again, not your conventional wisdom, but I think it makes perfect sense.
Remind me, Tuna, or Julia for that matter, where the Asian assets of Fox now reside. Will they reside with Disney, the Star and so forth?
Star will reside with Disney, and that's, I would just point out, a massive asset. And I think that the international exposure that Fox brings is one reason why it was so appealing both to Disney and to Comcast, which of course also made a bid. And I think that Star India is a massive property. There are also Latin American assets that are very valuable. So I think that the acquisition of Fox, had a number of appeals, but one of which was the direct-to-consumer potential, having a controlling stake in Hulu, but also having the access to those international markets through Star and Sky, and also in Latin America. But I would point out that Disney, with this acquisition, will own about a third of Sky. The question is whether they make the bid for the rest of it and how this all plays out. Will they want to be a partner with Comcast if Comcast were to buy Sky, or will they sell the remainder? So there are any number of ways this could play out. But I do think they have a little bit more time before they have to make their final decision about whether they're going to try to top Comcast's bid.
Tuna, Julia's had a very busy day. She started with the exclusive interview with Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman around this new TV venture. Disney is one of the investors there, and actually most of the media companies are investing in this venture. Thoughts?
I'm not really surprised, because I think, no one wants to be left behind here in this kind of rat race to be where the consumers want you to be. This is actually along the lines of Disney's core competency to invest in businesses that kind of fall within their strategic competency. And it's not inconceivable that down the road, this could actually provide a platform for them to incubate more content, as we've seen in some of the acquisitions they've done. A good example would be, Maker Studios. So I think right now it's all about finding, sources to develop stories and package them to consumers and monetize them through the subscription streaming model, which we think now is probably the most viable way that companies are looking to, cash in on this trend.